engine braking process and different types of oils. So yeah, let's head into it. After spending a lot of hours, I thought maybe this could be interesting for someone instead of, spending a lot of time doing research and finding that there are a lot of different answers. Having just quite a short video explaining the process that I follow, at least in this 2J build. So I will split the process in 5 pieces. The first one for me was I brought the engine from Japan, and I really wanted to understand what was the canvas that I was going to be working with. So the first thing that I did is I got a sample of the oil that was present in that Japanese engine and I sent it to analyze. There's a very well-known company here in the States, and they basically gave us a report with a lot of data that represents if the oil had present fuel or water or coolant or an excessive amount of metals. So in this case, luckily, I'm thankful the engine came quite clean, considering it has probably between 60 to 75,000 miles. So what I also did after starting with the process of repairing the engine and making this build kickstart, what I wanted to do as well was to have a compression test. So I just brought regular oil. In this case, I went with Rotella. I used the same grade that the manual of the 2J suggested to use, which is 10W30, and I filled the engine with oil. I cranked the engine a couple of times and I was able to measure compression. With those 2 indicators, the oil analysis and the compression number, then I decided not to replace the rings and not to replace the pistons, nor the rods, nor the connection of the rods. So basically I ended up disassembling most of the engine. I didn't remove the head, but I did remove the camshafts. I changed valve stem seals and I re-gasketed the entire engine. In these old Toyotas, and I don't even know if the new ones, but in this case, in these engines, you have to apply a silicone thing to create the gasket. And while I was doing that, I thought, well, maybe there's a little bit of residue that could go into the engine. So as soon as I have the engine completely built and in the car again, then I went again with this second step, which was filling the engine again with a cheap oil. So I used the same Rotella, a brand new one, but I used exactly the same one. Why I did that? Well, I did that just to start the engine for the very first time. I actually did this twice. I started the engine and I let the engine go into operating temperature, then I powered the engine off and I repeated that process. Once I did that, I removed the oil and then I checked if the filter had any specific, amount of, if I could see any specific amount of metals or anything weird in the filter. The filter was clean, the oil was pretty clean. So then I moved to the third step, which in my case was braking oil. So what I did is I did some research. There are a couple of brands that they make this type of engine braking oils, and the key thing is that they do have some special additives, and also what they do is, you're talking here about conventional oil or semi-synthetic oil, not full synthetic oil. And the main reason is because the full synthetic will make the process of the first wear to take longer, which in your case, you don't want this. You want to produce a healthy wear, but just one time, short period, and then move on and use the car as you may want. Now, another question that I had, it was, okay, the engine has now engine braking oil, which is like a special type of oil, but still, how do I drive this? Do I let it idle? How many miles should I go through? Do I get in boost? I do not get in boost. So here I'm gonna share my personal experience. I would say for the first 100 miles, I decided the car was completely built. So the turbos were connected, radiator, coolant, everything. So the car was ready to run. So I decided to use the car for the first 100 miles without getting into boost. I would go to the grocery store, I would be very helpful for my wife, I was going all around trying to use the car and having this car braking in. Once I passed the 100 miles, up to, I would say, the 300 miles, then I started getting into boost. In my case, I was running an 8 psi spring, so I was running up to 8 psi, and the boost that I would get in, it was third gear pulls in the highway. I would not go into a first gear pull because I knew that could produce some, you know, extra wear in the engine. So I started with highway pulls, third gear, 8 psi, and then between the 300 to the 500 mile, I went all in. In my case, it's a 15 now. It's not a 15 psi rated spring, but we raced with the controller up to those numbers, and I started using the car and getting into high psi in second gear, third gear, a lot of pulls in highway, a lot of pulls in the street without caring at all. Then once I hit the 500 mile, I did the last oil change, which takes me to the last step, which is the one that we're gonna do basically today. What I'm moving now is I'm moving into a full synthetic, the one that I'm gonna be using this one. We're talking about an engine that has probably 20 years or more and a lot of miles, and I'm planning on, you know, giving a lot of abuse and using it as it was designed to be used, so I went with that oil. So all in all, this is the process that I wanted to share. Again, I don't think there's one size that fits all. I don't think that there's, you know, just one recipe that will, you know, you will find out there are a lot of different people with different opinions, and probably most of them are quite good. In my case, this is the one that I came with. So I hope you enjoyed, I hope you learned something, and if you're in the process of breaking in an engine, please comment below, let us know the process that you're following. If you disagree with anything in this video, please let us know as well, because I do agree and I do believe in the power of community, and that's why I'm willing to create here with you. So hope you enjoyed, I see you soon.